it is going to be answered with a Churnwalker. So it's basically the two bands that we kind of expect to see, just on opposite sides, and draft just got restarted. Not sure why it was restarted that time, but well, there we go. Get the bands through again real quick. And then Grace, of course, was that first pick for the side of Rogue. So they're going to go ahead and lock in that captain. It's kind of been very typical. If it's Churnwalker and Varia banned first, we typically end up seeing that Grace be the first pick.
Yeah, absolutely. Arden picked up here. And the Black Feather band away. So obviously the Rona is something that's still on the table, and then the Sky is another strong one that's in the draft available still here. We've seen a couple players be able to pick up this glaive and make short work of some enemies as well. So we do have a couple picks still available, but this is where things really start to boil down. Both captains are picked. The Varia, which is almost 100% ban, with the exception of last night. We actually, Tasty, I don't know if you watched, but we had a Varia make it all the way through the draft and never get picked. So that was pretty
surprising.
Fun. Yes, it absolutely is. The Rhyme is banned away. That is something that Stormy Cross does excel at. So this ban it does feel a little bit targeted. Rhyme is not really incredibly strong in the meta right now, with the exception of maybe against Rona, just due to his sustainability and the damage that he's able to do. But I do feel like this is targeted towards Stormy, just because many have looked at Stormy in the past and revered him as having kind of a small hero pool. You know, you look, most of his heroes played at the time were, you know, the Kroll, the Black Feather, and the Rhyme, and that was really about the limits of it. But we have a Ringo picked up here, and that's likely going to be going up to Gaspy in the lane.
Yeah, most certainly going to be a lane Ringo. And I want to go back to that Rhyme ban a little bit, just because of talking about what it affects for the rest of the draft as well. Because yes, it is a targeted ban, but it's also one of those situations where, you know, we talk about Rona and Sky all the time being such a high priority for, you know, do you get one or the other and things like that. If you ban away the Rhyme, it can kind of say to your opponents, we're thinking about this Rona, and they're going to grab Rona here with a Batiste. Batiste is a very good counter for the Sky as well, being able to stop a lot of those Suri strikes with an Ordained. But the Rhyme ban kind of set this up for the side of Rogue, because by taking the Rhyme off the table, it forces Kardashians to have to think, do we want to take the Sky now in anticipation of the Rona pick, because they can't pick it themselves because Rona's going to come through. And then they have the you know, if they go for the Sky, they're going to just get countered heavily by the side of Rogue. So that Rhyme ban, even though it is a targeted ban, it also just sets up so many mind games in the rest of the draft.
I actually really do like the Sky pick here. With the Arden, it's not quite as huge of a threat to go into the Batiste. You know, typically we would look, you know, Sky's mobility gives her that advantage over Rona. As the game goes on, though, the real way you beat a Batiste is sheerly just to outrange him, and that's something that the forward barrage can do. So I do like that Stormy Cross has locked in this Sky here for the last pick. During the first couple levels, if we see some early level 1 through level 4 engages, Sky will be a little bit of a sitting duck to the Ordained combined with the Rona, and then obviously the Grace with the Holy Nova as well. But once we get further and Sky gets online in her build, that Batiste cannot position himself that far forward trying to land those bad mojos without subjecting himself to a face full of crystalline bullets.
While that it does work, you know, in theory, you also have to think about the fact that the Grace is such a good counter to the Sky as well, because when you use your Benediction, the Holy Shield provides the damage barrier. If she uses that on Sky, that is a damage barrier for the entire team in whichever direction Sky is facing, and a crystal Sky's damage only comes from the direction that Sky is in. So it can actually block a lot of that damage, allowing the Batiste and the Rona to get up into range. So I actually do really favor the draft that Rogue has picked up here. Obviously, execution is different than just looking at it on paper. On paper, I think Rogue have a clear edge in this game, but the execution is where it really counts. And this Ringo Sky, if they can start kiting, if they can create that distance that they need, there will be opportunities for them to get team fight victories.
Yeah, should be a fun one. I try to poke Shine again. Okay, Shine, I apologize. That's my fault. I was on the wrong account. There we go. My fault, everybody. I thought I was waiting on Shine. That was my fault. We should be ready to go.
For anyone who's wondering, we were just waiting to get Denominate into the into the lobby so you can actually see the game. And he is busy blaming others for his own issues.
I can take the blame when blame is due, and Shine is not the problem there. That was totally me. Totally.
But either way, we are loading on into this one, and we will be getting the first matchup of the night underway here between Rogue and Kardashians. And another thing to point out, we saw the starting lineup for Kardashians did have Marto on it. It is Thug Nasty Larry that is playing Captain Foreman. This was something they did the other day when we saw them in their qualifier match. Was they started with Marto, but then once Thug Nasty Larry was available, they put him in. So Thug Nasty Larry, I believe, is actually their starter right now for Kardashians.
That is correct, yes. Marto, from my understanding of it, he would like to stay more in the coaching role. However, he is a fantastic playmaking captain. I actually wish he would put more time forward into maybe winning himself another championship. Maybe we'll see it from him someday. Obviously, Marto was on Liberation X, the first team to ever win a live Vainglory tournament. So that's exciting. That's exciting history that this Kardashians roster has their roots in.
Yeah, absolutely. But we are underway for game number 1. You see all 6 members getting towards the middle of the map now. Who's going to decide to start up this treant? Rogue does have favorable position for the time being. Evil has taken a good amount of damage. Now they're going to be tanking up that treant as well. They do go in just to stop the potential steal. Rogue secures the Elder Treant, and everyone is just going to reset a bit here. As so early advantage. Not much of an advantage, but still early advantage to Rogue.
Yeah, definitely a little bit. And I do want to make note that our boy Hammy here, he is on the Baptiste. This is going to be the premier Hammy jungle experience with Sibs in the lane. Obviously, Evol, one of my favorite captains, actually, in probably the world. He's so mechanically gifted. He's very, very smart with his executions, and that can be a huge threat to the enemy, especially when he gets on this Grace. The Grace and the Lyra have always been two of his best heroes just because of how aggressive they allow him to play while having that safety net of healing up himself and his allies as well.
Yeah, it definitely, as when you talk about the mechanical skills, right now they're finding Stormycross in the jungle. He does avoid getting stunned by the Ordained, but he's just going to be taking so much damage. And it will be first blood secured by Sibs as he jumps on over, grabs himself that kill. So a little bit extra gold for Arona is never something you want to be giving over.
No, definitely not, and especially because it is going to be Evol and Sibs presenting a massive threat, because Rona is going to be the one diving onto that front line, probably going to be actually soaking up more of Stormycross's damage than Evol, since Evol will be trying to set up the stuns with the Holy Nova, and Sibs, he's always looking to get onto that backline. He's looking to pick up the kill, so that Divine Intervention, when it comes through, will, as you mentioned, similar to the Benediction earlier, that Divine Intervention reduces a massive amount of incoming damage, and then also packs that powerful healing punch on the back. And when we think about it being used with this Rona, who's going to be diving to that backline, likely getting a Shiver Steal, which is a massive amount of health, as well as some attack speed and some utility slow, this Ringo will literally have nowhere to go, and it's going to be very difficult to actually damage Sibs enough to force him back and try to save Gatsby here in the lane.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult, but obviously, when you have that Vanguard, you can just apply a lot of shielding, and there's times when it just feels like it's just almost too much to deal with in certain instances, but when you throw it on at the right time, looking to cover that burst damage, I think that's going to be really the key. Is if Thug Nasty Larry saves that Vanguard for when Sibs tries to use that bonus damage from the foe splitter, or when Hammy throws out a empowered bad mojo. Those are the times when you need to be seeing those vanguards come out so you can negate as much of that damage as possible and just allow your teammates to have that little bit of extra time to do their work. But right now they're trying to jump onto Jesus here, and he's just going to be taking very little damage overall. And again, that's the power of having a little bit of lifesteal and that barrier that can be provided. Evil needs to be careful on this Grace because he's down very low. But in the jungle, Hammy and Stormycross once again going to be finding each other. Stormycross doing a good job preventing the stuns from the Ordains, but he takes so much damage in the process. He does get out as the rest of the Kardashians rotate on down, but Hammy, it's like he may not be done. He gets himself empowered, just throwing those massive bad mojos. Thug Nasty Larry gets stunned up by the Ordained, another empowered time for Hammy, but not going to be able to find much. However, Evil steals away the Treant right out from in front of Stormycross.
Yeah, absolutely. And this has been a lot of control in the favor of Rogue as far as the fights have gone. Now, we do have a little bit of an insight on this pause already. There's an issue with the spec client. It is going to get reset right now, everybody. There's not an issue with any of the players that we know of right now. So give us just a minute here as we're going to go ahead and take a short break to get the spec client restarted. Me and the lyrical stylings of Tasty Bacon will be here to soothe your ears and take care of you guys. So, Tasty.
About any lyrical stylings that are going to be happening, but yeah, we can definitely have some restarts on the Spectate client. Once again, nothing wrong with the players. No one is lagged out. No one's disconnected. It was purely a Spectate issue, and it is going to be squared away. And we'll be getting back underway in just a moment. As soon as we do, which is right now, we will get back to the action.
Yeah, absolutely. And I like that Rogue are doing a good job of pushing their advantage early, specifically because the Baptiste, the later this game gets, he has a very, very strong and potent mid-game spike. However, as we get later into the game, he falls off a little bit in comparison to the Sky. Rogue, they've done their homework and they know how to function on this composition. They've come up into the lane multiple times and they've been chipping away at that turret every opportunity they get. And pretty soon here, with as hurt as that turret is, that's going to be the first objective lead going over to the side of Rogue. It is going to make it that much more risky for Gatsby to actually come up and farm his lane on this here Ringo. And, that's where we can start to see some of these ganks come out. There's because of Ringo's range over Rona, it can be a little bit difficult early on to set up ganks. When Ringo doesn't have that safety net of his turret, it's a whole change of game style and what this Baptiste is able to do. So, Rogue, they need to continue to push the advantage. Evil is about to hit level 6. When that happens, they should essentially be able to win any fight as long as Thug Nasty Larry doesn't find some beautiful triple gauntlet.
Yeah, and right now there's a lot of damage getting thrown onto Thug Nasty Larry, going to force him to have to be very careful, and this is the pressure that Baptiste can put out. You throw out those empowered bad mojos, anyone that's in the area just gets melted, and Rogue brute force their way through that first turret. And like you said, that's going to now make it more difficult for this Ringo to farm. It's also going to allow Hammy to be even more aggressive in the jungle because he doesn't have to worry as much about the full team rotation. Speaking of rotations, this is a 3-on-3 fight breaking out at the moment. Thug Nasty Larry looks to be the target just because he got so low so quickly. They do find that one kill, but now Evil and Sibs both going to be dropping low. The fountain comes out, but it's a little bit too late for Evil to save himself. So we do get a 1-for-1 trade on the kills, but now Rogue going to try and take advantage by stealing away a little bit of these camps. It's going to be Stormycross almost taking down Sibs, but Sibs jumping over the wall finds a kill. That one gets traded as well as Hammy does go down. And now it's Sibs and Stormycross one-on-one, but it looks like Stormycross has the advantage here because Sibs doesn't seem to want to fight this, which is strange. I feel like Sibs would have had a big advantage if he had just turned and tried to jump onto this Sky because he has a big item advantage and the lifesteal. that would
I
have
don't
been
know.
coming through.
Stormycross Bacon was sitting at 11 stacks that Dragon's Eye. That could have been
He
pretty
was at 11
risky.
stacks, but he was very low on energy. I think Sibs would have been able to turn that one around. Sibs was still almost full health. I think that one could have been turned around. Obviously, the safer play is to just do what Sibs did there, and there's no harm in that either. But, I like seeing players take the aggressive route. I like seeing them try and make plays. I like seeing those opportunities arise.
That's a fair point. That's a fair point, Bacon. I'll give you that. He could have made the attempt. I think if he would have had the Shiver Steel, he probably would have. He's picked that up now, so that's definitely an opportunity. Especially if he saves his cooldowns correctly. He had the fog from being in that bush there. He could have got on the Storm across once that Surrey Strike comes out. If you've saved your death from your into the fray at that point, you can obviously reinitiate on the fight and use that foe splitter for the additional movement speed, get in and out of the forward barrage. So I can definitely see where Sibs, probably could have won that fight. It's just a little bit risky, and again, they want to keep the edge while they have it. This gold mine getting started up. Kardashians know what's going on. Can we see the steal come out here as Stormycross and Thug Nasty Larry, they're on their way.
Hellfire Brew is going to come out as well. Tag Sibs. That's going to get him burning a little bit, but you can see, again, Rogue, they just wait for those Empowered Bad Mojos and then go in once they get that big burst of damage down. Already Fountain being used by the side of Kardashians. Fearsome Shade will push them away once more, but that was just kind of to stop the fight from happening. The Fearsome Shade just cancels everything out, allows Rogue to grab the middle treant, and then just work their way back up to the lane. So this engagement is pretty much over, although Hammy still throwing out damage onto Ringo, and he's going to be getting dropped in an instant. That's, again, the massive burst that comes out. Ringo just has no protection against that right now. Thug Nasty Larry is going to get targeted here. Death from above just to slow everyone up, but Thug Nasty Larry can't get out of harm's way fast enough. Sib's going to be melting down from that forward barrage, but an Ordained lands a stun, and Rogue find an ace 10 minutes in. That's going to lead to at least a gold mine, possibly even a turret, but it doesn't look like Sibs is interested in that right now.
Yeah, not looking to be the case, but they are interested in getting this here gold mine, and it's going to go over uncontested at this point. Just so everybody in the stream knows, the management team does know there's a little bit of a graphical issue here. We're looking to get that sorted out, but it probably won't be until we get after game one. So unfortunately, I do have to ask you to just be patient with us here a little bit, and they're working on getting it fixed, but it sounds like the fix can't be implemented during the game. So as soon as we get out of this one, we'll get everything rocking and rolling, and we should have a much smoother, crisp experience for you guys for game two.
Hopefully we'll be able to get a buttery smooth experience for everyone watching the Halcyon Elite playoffs. But for now, Rogue, they're having a pretty buttery smooth game here in game number one with a 4K gold lead at 11 minutes. They've gotten themselves that first turret. They didn't get any real progress on that second turret despite the ace coming through, but they got themselves that gold mine, which is why they have this large of a lead right now.
Yeah, they're really developing a pretty sizable lead here. We're 11 and a half minutes in. They're sitting at almost 5,000 gold advantage. And that's a scary point for them to be in with the amount of lockdown they have. Hammy, he's got the Shatterglass, he's got the Dragon's Eye. We'll likely see him work into some cooldown now so that he can actually spam out that Ordained a little bit more frequently. Sibs, valiant attempt there, my friend, but that one's going to go over to the side of the Kardashians. Sibs going to rotate in the lane, look to clean up his CS here, as he's very likely trying to get an Atlas Pauldron online, so when he gets on that Ringo, he can prevent some of the damage output that the Ringo is able to provide. As we see Evol, he's already sitting on one as well, and it gets pretty difficult in the midst of a fight to try to block or dodge out two different Atlas Pauldrons. You can definitely use the Reflex Block for one, but you also have the Ordained to worry about, the Holy Nova, a couple Atlas Pauldrons, Shiver Steel. It's going to be very, very difficult for Gatsby on this Ringo to have a fun time in this.
Well, right now they're going to get double feared into the wall, and it's going to be Stormycross that doesn't have a very fun time. He gets deleted instantly. Hammy is going to be chasing down Jesus, but he's going to be just getting blocked out by that gauntlet. Great placement on the gauntlet by Thug Nasty Larry to prevent any further advancement from the side of Rogue. But Rogue, they don't really mind that they weren't able to get those kills because they had minions pushing up, and they just immediately rotate up to the lane, take down that turret, and can just continue to increase their gold lead. And one thing I do want to point out that happened before that fight broke out, when the Hellfire Brew was thrown onto Hammy, Hammy used the healing flask instead of a reflex block. And that is actually incredibly smart because it's a weapon Ringo. The healing flask blocked the burst and then healed him up through the burn duration of the Hellfire Brew, so then he still had the reflex block available for a Death from Above or for a Gauntlet. Incredibly smart play from Hammy.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the weapon power Ringo, that ult does not have a massive impact. While it can be used to finish off a low target or to just start off a fight, when that healing flask is still in pocket, as you mentioned, it's a perfect counter for that Ringo's ultimate. You avoid the burst, and oh no, here we go, they're on Gatsby quickly here.
There is going to be Gatsby taking a lot of trouble, but he does dodge out the Holy Nova, doesn't get stunned up. Meanwhile, Stormycross on the backside harassing Hammy, but Hammy's going to get the Divine Intervention. Meanwhile, Sibs is just doing work in the middle of this fight. They take down Ringo. Now they can turn their attention onto the rest of the team, but I do get a little bit of distance between them with how low Sibs is. I don't see them really committing too heavily unless Hammy just finds himself a solo kill. And that's exactly what he does on Stormycross. Again, showcasing the power of this Batiste.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought that fight was looking really good for the Kardashians early on. Not only did Gatsby avoid the Holy Nova, the ring is about the same size as that Atlas Pauldron that went off at the same time. He actually avoided both of them just by some brilliant sidestepping there. In the end, Sibs was able to, again, that Shiver Steel, so effective against a Ringo because he doesn't have any actual movement utility in his kit. He does have the slight speed boost from the Twirling Silver, but he doesn't actually have anything like a Sonic Zoom or a Surrey Strike or a Afterburn to get him away from the damage. And from there, it's easy for Sibs to come in. The Serpent's Mask allows him to sustain almost indefinitely in a lot of these fights. While they were almost able to get the kill on Sibs, it was Hammy coming through, as you mentioned, beautiful solo kill onto Stormycross. He's now got the Echo complete and is now starting to work into some shielding as well. That's going to help him survive on that front line against some of the damage that Sky is able to put out. That Hellfire Brew does not get blocked up, but Sibs, brilliant, uses the Red Mist there. Out of combat, doesn't hurt him to use up some of that Blood Rage. Going to block out some of that damage, thanks to some fortified health.
And then the team just quickly gathers up that Treant, gets the healing right back up to full. Fearsome Shade is going to get blocked out, but can they find the damage? They're just jumping right onto Thug Nasty Larry. They're seeming to take just any target they can get and just melting through them. Stormycross gets collapsed upon eventually. Now Thug Nasty Larry does stun up, get a few stuns with the Gauntlet, but it just doesn't do anywhere near enough work. Sibs gonna chase down Ringo, and this Rona just has so much damage. They find the ace, they eliminate the Crystal Sentry, and 16 minutes in, Kraken is on the map. She is going to be the next target, and Rogue just in absolute complete control.
Yeah, it's not looking good for the Kardashians at this point. Sibs is easily going to be able to take down this choke point turret thanks to these ace minions. He's going to be able to regroup with his team down at the jungle shop as this Kraken is getting taken and be able to spend some of this gold he has in pocket. And again, the fights here for the side of the Kardashians are almost entirely going to come down to Thug Nasty Larry and his ability to try to get Gatsby safely out of combat so that he can start racking up the damage himself. He has actually a very strong and high damage potential build, but because he's dying so quickly and getting forced out of the fight so quickly, I'm sure the damage chart at the end of the game is going to explain it a lot easier than I am, that Gatsby really hasn't had a whole lot of impact. The majority of the damage has been Stormycross, despite Sky taking much longer to ramp up damage. Now, with the Kraken marching towards 2 Vein Crystal turrets, it's going to take almost a miracle for the Kardashians to get out of this one safely.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very difficult. One Ordained, or one Holy Nova stunning the right target could just be the end of things. A Fearsome Shade is going to get thrown, And that's going to allow the team to just take down this first turret. Sibs jumping right on into the second one. He doesn't even care about the damage he's taking. The Diviner's Bench will keep him healed up for now, and they're on to the Vein Crystal. Sibs might fall here at the end, but it's just not going to matter. Hammy goes down too, but those are just consolation kills as Rogue has taken game number 1 in, again, very dominant fashion, securing the victory in 18 minutes with the help of a Kraken, and just never really allowing the members of Kardashians to have a moment where they felt like they had a chance of coming back.
Yeah, it definitely was Rogue in the driver's seat for that entire game. Again, they are a Vainglory 8 team. They were a Vainglory 8 team that almost went to Worlds. I mean, we're talking about the difference of a point, right? I mean, that's where we were sitting at the end of the autumn season. So definitely Rogue. They've proven their stuff over time. And Kardashians, they were able to take first place in the Challenger League in the first split of autumn, but we're not able to pull through and make it to challenge battles the second time around. So obviously struggling a little bit with their consistency. And I don't think I can stress it enough, Bacon. It's probably the biggest thing I mention is if you want to compete with the best, it's not about what your best gameplay can be. It's about how consistently can you perform that. And unfortunately for the Kardashians, we haven't seen the level of consistency that we'd like to see if you want to compete with a team like Rogue or compete with teams like Tribe, Hammers, Gangstars, teams of that nature.
Yeah, well, we'll see if they can pull it together for game number 2, because one of the things about being an inconsistent team does mean that when you play at your best, you can take some surprise wins. So it's just about playing at